Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. My name is Agnes van Rhijn, the life and business reinvention expert at Success on Your Own Terms and the founder of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. Today it's my great pleasure to be interviewing Melanie Grenough, who was a homeless single mom at age 25. But instead of accepting what life had so far scripted for her, Melanie rewrote her own playbook chapter by chapter. And by 33, she started in the home-based business industry, earning her first million shortly after that and becoming a top producer and business coach, creating multiple six-figure earners. Melanie travels around the world and delivers success intensive seminars, master plan coaching events virtually each month and does VIP coaching, with each event being sold out. The most amazing thing about this is the diversity of people that are able to implement her strategies for success and create complete life changes in short periods of time. You are definitely someone to my heart, Melanie. I am the queen of reinvention, so you certainly are one as well. How are you? Welcome.
Oh, I am so good. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you today. I'm so excited about the work that you're doing. Obviously, giving people an opportunity to be inspired to make change is a big deal.
Yeah, I really love this notion of role modeling and having the possibility to inspire women to make things really happen in their life. So tell us a bit more about you, how it all started, because it's quite a story.
Yeah, I went through, in my early years, crazy amounts of trauma and turmoil, and just ended up in the wrong relationship, getting married, having my daughter, and that landed me in a woman's shelter. And so I like the bio said, I had no place to live, I had no bank account, I had no nothing, and I had my daughter. And I remember thinking, is this really what it's going to turn out to be? Did I get this far to land here? And I'll never forget, I had to figure out how to get an apartment and how was I going to earn a living and all, because I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, right? I mean, we have all these plans for our lives, and sometimes there's a wrench put in those plans that are not something that we can control. So I'll never forget, I had to go in and ask for help from an emergency service worker, and they made me feel like I was about this big. And I remember thinking, I will never, ever put my financial future in somebody else's hands again. And so that was really the beginning of the journey. I had a lot to learn, but that was the first step. And then I, went and did what you are doing right now as far as getting the stories out there. I went and found somebody who had what I wanted and started to learn what they know. So that's kind of where that all started, but it's been quite a long journey since then, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can imagine. So tell us a bit how it unfolded, because what I find interesting is that in those stories that you are sharing, the people who are being interviewed are sharing, because it's only half an hour, of course, it sometimes seems like overnight it just happened like that. And so give us more details on we now have the story about the success that you will tell us about, but give us more about the challenges on the way.
Oh yeah, well, I'll tell you, first challenge was I had no place to live, no phone, no help. I had no family in town. My friends had all turned their back on me because they believed that he was the most charming individual they'd ever met, which he was very good at. And actually even my church didn't believe the situation. And so I really was alone, and that was a big challenge for me. However, what I do know about myself, and maybe it's because, and if you're out there and you've been through abuse that you've had to overcome, or any challenges, a loss of a loved one that's very close to you, you quickly realize that if it's going to be, it's up to me. And if I'm going to succeed, it's going to be on my own drive and my own willpower. So I chose to take that and use it for fuel. The things that were holding me back, I actually use them as stepping stones instead of roadblocks. And so that was a big one for me. And, really it was, I say all success is 20 years in the making, right? I mean, I'm 42 now, and I'm married to an amazing man. We have a beautiful home. We've earned millions of dollars. I love, love, love. My kids are 16 and 17 now, and we have just such a great life. But it was the process of, failing and moving forward and continuing to fail. And even when the people were closest to me, as you go out and try and succeed and create a new life and reinvent yourself, the people that are around you, they don't necessarily want you to change, right? They like you how you are.
Oh,
They
so true.
right? They don't want you to be different. So it's just a matter of really getting clear on who it is that you want to be, and not allowing people to try and keep you in that box, but, really inventing. And I love what you said about, it's reinventing and inventing, and you'll do that over and over and over again, right? Each step of the way, there's all kinds of, you'll get to this point and then you're like, wait a second, I want it to look more a little bit like this. And so it's just that process, right, of going through. I'm sure you can relate.
Oh, absolutely. In my case, the reason why I've been quote unquote labeled the queen of reinvention is that I've restarted my life from scratch 3 times already, and I'm in the middle of the 3rd time. But so I know it is possible, whatever age. I'm 58 today, so you can imagine that it's not always. So, but what is interesting is what you describe. When people are, I would say, knocked down for whatever reason, or they are at crossroads for whatever reason. And that's particularly true if they're a bit older. And I don't mean necessarily my age, but I mean, you've had a little bit of experience already. It's very easy to think that there is nothing that can be done. It's the others, it's the circumstances, it's the whole victim approach. What I love is that you've really been talking consciously about choices, about using your fear as fuel, about clarity. So there is a very strong will there about, well, as the show is called, make things happen in your life, and it's only relying on you. So from a, I would say, resilience point of view, how have you handled that? Because you were talking about failing, starting over again, failing, starting over again. What tip do you give to listeners on how to do that? How do you learn from your failures? Best.
Yeah. So a couple of things in there. So much I want to say about that, but I'll try and keep it concise. First of all, there's no mistakes. Absolutely no mistakes. The native language, so Native Americans, whether they're Canadian, US, whatever, they actually don't have a word for mistake. It doesn't exist in their vocabulary. The closest the elders could come to was, my arrow did not go where I intended. So there are no mistakes. There are misfires, and that's okay. Right? It's okay to have those things happen in life. And also, I don't believe, there's a good book that says that your trials produce perseverance, and perseverance produces character. And when you produce character and the will to win, you have the right character, then it doesn't matter what happens to you. It is actually happening for you, because the right character, a winner, doesn't look at what's happening to them, but rather, why is it happening for them, and how can they use that as a catalyst? And so I actually believe that those failures, or those things that we think are failures, those crossroads, they're not actually an obstacle, they're an opportunity. And they're an opportunity for us to become more of who we were meant to be. Can you imagine if nothing ever failed, or nothing ever went wrong? How would we ever become better? And so that's the first part of that. The second part of that is, I believe truly in my gut that all things are possible for those who believe. And I mean, all things are possible for those who believe in whatever is possible. If you believe it's possible for you to become the next Oprah Winfrey, then you can do it. If you believe that it's possible for you to, found a orphanage, you'll do it. If you believe you can, you will. And if you believe you can't, you won't. And that's really what it comes down to. So it's just a matter of understanding that, we are all faced with stuff in our lives that's difficult. That's life. Life has difficult things. Absolutely. However, if we are looking for solutions instead of problems, if we're focused on serving others through those problems, especially, and I love what you're doing. You said you're in the middle of a reinvention. You're not waiting until it's reinvented. You're not waiting until, right? You're here and you're doing it now.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're engaging, you're delivering something that the world needs now, a great service to people. And through that, that's where your reinvention, the success of your reinvention is going to come from. It's from the action. of it. And so, I love that you're taking action in the middle of it, and how beautiful, because isn't that going to make you even better when you land where you want to land?
Absolutely, absolutely. So a key word in what you mentioned is belief, because in fact, we all believe something. It's just, what is it that we believe? So it works. It always works. What we
Always.
believe always turns out. But it's just which side are we looking at? So that's definitely a key one. And action, yes. How many people are, as you say, just waiting for the reinvention or the whatever to happen to them, but they don't initiate it. And
We have to create momentum in our own lives, right? I have a tagline that I use, and actually anybody who's been attending my training seminars or on any of my training material, they'll actually find themselves repeating it, and it is massive immediate action. When you take massive immediate action in your life, when you take massive immediate action in your decision making, in your, even in launching your new video series, what a great thing. I mean, you had to take action. You can have all the thinking you want, wish in one hand and do nothing in the other, and see what, you got to take action or nothing fills up. And so it's just, really, truly, it's that activity. And what's beautiful, and I'm sure you found this, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to see the whole staircase. I mean, I'm sure well, you can maybe let everybody know, did you see the whole thing finished? Did you know exactly what it was going to look like? Were you good at video? Were you good at all of this when you started? Right?
Certainly not. And I think that one of the keys to bounce back on that is also passion. Because when I started those, well, I told you before we started the recording that I had started them as radio interviews. I happen to be a person who loves the visual, so it didn't work that well for me, and I kept forgetting running them, etc. Once I started them as a video interview series, I tend to love everything perfect, etc. But I'm so passionate about it. I keep thinking afterwards each time, oh yes, it's true. I need to have an intro. I need to have an outro. I still haven't done it, because in reality, yeah, well, it would be great if I had one, and then I will end up having one. But is it important? I think that the message that is being conveyed is much more important than just having it perfect. And I just love doing them, running them. So, and I meet those amazing women like you. It's just fabulous. I love it. I really love it.
So true. And, in my line of work, a lot of people, they want to make sure that they know everything before they start, and they want to, look like the expert. And that's one thing that I would encourage, if you're trying to reinvent yourself, or even if you're just starting out from scratch, don't feel like you have to be the expert. There's no, if you know something more than the person you're talking to on that subject, you're already the expert. So it's okay. Right?
That is enough. Absolutely. I love this expression, fly the plane while building it. It's exactly. I love that.
So true. And that's where, it's interesting, because what'll happen is when you're taking action like that, you'll find that the right people show up, the right interviews show up, the right support shows up, the right skill shows up, the right course shows up, all the things that you need when you're moving towards your destiny. All the things that you need come into play, and you may not even know where they're going to come from. You might not think you have the money for it. Whatever the obstacle, I promise you that as you're taking forward movement towards those things, well, what ends up happening, of course, is the things you need take movement towards you. And so all of a sudden you end up with this beautiful life, and you're wondering, like, how did I get here? But really it was just the first step. And it was just, you take one. And we had a coach, I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but he said, you got to learn to dance. And he would say 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. He said, just make sure that you're not going 3 steps forward, 1 step, 3 steps back, 1 step forward. Don't get the steps mixed up, right? But learn to dance, and that's all okay, right? It's a part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this image. It is a dance, absolutely, yeah. And I always say people want 100% results. And in fact, one little step after the other, as long as it's in the right direction. 1% plus 1% plus 1%, I mean, you end up with maybe, I don't know, 13%, and that's better than zero. So as long as it's in the right direction, it works very well.
I love it. So true. And, in our journey through, just I'm just thinking through the process, I've bought programs and used them. I've bought programs and not used them. I've attended events and had tremendous results from those events. And I've attended other events and not really taken stuff away, but not taken and applied stuff maybe. But each one of those experiences grew me a little bit. And so maybe it shifted a thought or a mindset. Maybe it showed me something more that was possible. The biggest thing really about these videos and about engaging and about getting out there and creating the life that you want, it's really about learning what's possible for you. And the only way to do that is to find people that have what you want, right? And then mimic them and learn what they learn and do what they do and go where they go and do those things. But you'll find that as you do that, all of a sudden your life starts to transform into the image of what it is that you were seeking. And so, again, it's like when I think about all the people that are just waiting, they're waiting. Right? They're waiting. They think that, like you said, they think they're too old. They think they're too young. They think they're this. They think that they've got all these ideas and all these beliefs about, what's possible for themselves or what's not possible, more importantly. And it's so sad. If you've got I firmly believe that if you have a desire in your heart, it's been put there for a reason. And that's a seed for your destiny. So if you have these desires, if you'll take action on those desires, more of the picture, more of the plan will be revealed. But you're being tested. If you're not willing to take the first step, probably you're not going to get the second step revealed to you, right?
Absolutely. I think that I mentioned that already on one of the interviews. I don't remember when. I think it is David Meagle, if I remember well, who has this analogy. I really love that image. When you're driving during the night, so in the dark, from one point to the other, the road unveils itself as you move. Do you stop because you don't see the end destination? No, you go because you trust that you will get there. And I really love that image. It's a very good one, yeah.
So good.
So coming back to the challenges that women can face when they want to create something for themselves. So we've seen that there is one massive thing around mindset. There is really something very strong around that. Is there anything else that you have been facing? Maybe to do with more, I don't know, practical things or delegating or whatever?
Yeah, actually, so that also comes back to mindset, mind you, but I actually developed a training program for women around building a business and running their lives, because often what happens, if you think about it, right, we have kids, we have husbands or not, we have partners, we have a home to run, we do all the grocery shopping, the laundry, we do the business, we do all the marketing, we do everything. And so here we are often feeling overwhelmed with not enough time, stressed out, not doing the things that we want to be doing, but rather putting out fires all day long. So I actually developed a time profit system, really is what it is. It teaches people how to build their business, get the results that they want, and control their calendar. And so some very practical tips on that. Number one, figure out what your top rocks are. Like, what are your big rocks that you have to do in a day? For me, it's my family and my kids. Like I have to spend time with them, really good quality time. It doesn't need to be all day long. And that's a trap, right? You're going to be building your business. You're going to be busy, whether it's your kids or your spouse or your friends. It's a trap to think that you need to spend all this time with them. You don't. You just need to figure out focus times, right? And put them in your calendar. Schedule in your time for yourself. Schedule in your study time. Schedule everything, right? Do color blocking on your calendar and really get clear on what it is that you want to create. So as you are taking the activities, you're doing the most important things towards that end, instead of, answering the phone and chatting with your girlfriends. Listen, some of those things got to go. There's something's got to go for something else to come. For you to get a new result in your life, there's things you have to stop doing that you're currently doing. If you have a TV and you're watching copious amounts of TV, Well, that's an electronic income reducer. You're not going to get very far with that. So, just do a life audit and ask yourself, where am I spending my time? And is it producing the result that I want? And then, get out a calendar and really get clear on it. And if you really are bad at this, hire a coach, for goodness sakes. I mean, I did. I don't know about you, how you are with your time, but
I don't count them anymore.
right? You got to get clear. So that's some real practical stuff. And I think really, learning to be graceful and allow yourself days off. That's another thing. If you've got a big business, our business grew very fast. Like for me, I started as a single mom. I had 2 foster kids, my own kid, 2 dogs. I had 2 businesses that I ran. I was a pastor of a church. I had an inner city youth ministry. I had all that. And then I started in direct sales, right? So and it grew fast and I made a lot of money fast, but I had so much going on that I really had to learn how to identify the profit producing activities and do those things first. And then the other things can fall into line. And even still, that's a challenge today, as our business gets bigger and as we grow. And I'm sure you're finding even, if you think about just even what's in the process of this video show, right? You've got the video and then you got to post it and get the links out and get all the, there's a lot of stuff to do, right? And having those cheat sheets for yourself. I don't know if you have anything like that you run by, so you got checklists.
Plenty. In my previous life in corporate, I was a former director of administration. So I tend to be very organized, structured, etc. And I love this reference you're making to time. Although I love the notion of Einstein time, but that's something else. But I always say to my clients, there are 1440 minutes in a day, not 1441. So if you want to add one, you need to take another out. You cannot do it all. But are you focusing on the right things? So what is most important, which comes back to what you were saying originally, this clarity about what you want to achieve. Absolutely. I think that that systems are absolutely needed one way or the other. And
learning to say no.
That's
the thing, right? Women, I mean, we're always, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I will. Yes. Can you bake cookies? Yes. Can you take my kids? Yes. Can you, drop this off for me? Yes. Can you? Yes, yes, yes. No, you can't. So one of the things that another one of my coaches actually taught us was to say, I'd love to, but can't now. Right? Smile on your face. Yeah. I'd love to, can't now. Right? So what you say no to is just as important as what you say yes to.
Yes, it's saying yes to yourself. And I'm all about what I call radical self-care, putting yourself back at the center of your life, because that's, I keep repeating it. I think I must say it throughout every interview, probably I should stop, on the plane, the security instructions, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Yeah. Not on your babies.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, one of the keys to my success, I know, and I don't know, about you, it sounds like we're on the same page, but my study time, like in the morning, I get up every morning. For me, I pray in the morning, I get grounded. I'm asking, for wisdom and for the, just for the grace and the peace and the understanding to get through my day. So I'm not trying to carry it all on my own shoulders. And then also recognizing that if I spend just 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day learning something new, 15 minutes a day writing in my journal and being grateful for what I already have been given, well, then that attitude carries out throughout the whole day. And so all of a sudden I become aware of how great my life already is, and that attracts more greatness into my life. And so really taking the time, and for me in my house, my kids know, don't talk to mama, it's her quiet time. Like I usually get up before the whole house is up, but if I don't, for whatever reason, I still get my time in, and that it doesn't have to be a lot of time. You can do it in 20-30 minutes, but you've got to take time for yourself, because if you don't know who you are before your day starts, make no mistake, the world will tell you. The world will tell you exactly who you are and what you need to be doing and where you should go. So if you're not really clear on that, I mean, you're just asking for trouble. Yeah.
I love it. I really, really, really love it. And I think that's another thing that's important, what you're saying, this notion, which comes back to what you said also about your children, the quality time with your children, that it doesn't need to be much, as long as it's focused and quality, and same applies to yourself. Yes, it's
Absolutely. And another really practical thing, I'm just thinking through, my success and the way it's been built and even where I'm going to, right? Because I haven't arrived, just as you haven't arrived. We're all in process. I mean,
process.
yeah, absolutely. So some of the things that can be really beneficial is taking time to calibrate, taking a couple of days to sit and think about your life, sit and think about where you're going, the direction and what you're working towards, and taking time to unplug. Like for us, we do a couple of days, no phone, no internet, no Facebook, no nothing, but just family time where we're working on our dream boards together and our goals. And so then that way also, if you do have a family and you are trying to build something for your future, your kids are a part of that. It's not you doing something over here, right? But they're learning the skill sets that they need to then succeed in their lives. And so, just to encourage you, if you've got young children, I sacrificed a lot. I worked very hard, often 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to build my businesses. And people would say to me, oh gosh, that's another thing what people will say to you, but they'd say to me, aren't you neglecting your kids? And is work everything? And how much money do you need to make? And all these things, all these messages that want to keep you mediocre and stuck in the status quo. They were all there for me, but then I'll tell you the reward on the end of building your dream life. Your kids will not be like other kids. My kids, they're 16 and 17 last year. They went to Thailand for 3 weeks. They went to New York. They went to London. They spent time in the Yukon traveling and doing missions work. And so my kids know that if they want something, they set a goal, right? They take action towards the goal, and then they go execute the goal, and they know they don't have to have everything right. So just to see the fruit of that, like I had to teach myself that, but my kids now, it's second generation of success coming up. And what an encouragement when I look at all these people that were saying all those things to me. Guess what? Their kids, they don't have winner mindsets. They don't have the ability to get out. They're not traveling the world. They're, getting mediocre jobs for a couple bucks an hour, and they'll never be little entrepreneurs. My kids are already that. So know that there's rewards, there's sacrifice, but the bigger the sacrifice, the bigger the reward.
That's also something I love. My kids are older, but they're 27 and 23. And yes, I can really see what you're describing. My daughter is studying in Shanghai now. She's doing her last year there. And my son has set goals, very clear goals for himself as well. And yes, I hadn't thought of that aspect. You're right, because I tend to be far away from them. I don't reflect the same way, but yes, it's absolutely true. And very rewarding. Absolutely. I'm very proud of my kids too.
Well, I think about the generations, right? Like, here's the thing, like maybe there's people looking at this video thinking, well, maybe they're at the very start. Maybe they work some dead end job that they hate, and they are where they don't want to be, and whatever, whether it's relational, physical, health, whatever, right? Financially. And they're looking at that and they're thinking, well, I have to pay a price. Well, I'm tired. I'm this, I'm that. You know what? Take your eyes off yourself. Mm-hmm. You have little people that are watching you. Maybe they're even big people watching you, but you have people watching you. And it's not just one generation that's affected by that. If you think about your kids, right now, your kids, they're going to have kids, and those kids are going to be one generation stronger, one generation farther away from being, average and ordinary, but then exceptional comes along. And so I can't wait to see 4 or 5 generations from now where the change that I made comes into fruition in their lives. And really, I love that. We can interrupt. It's a pattern interrupt. We can interrupt what could have been, if I followed in my parents' footsteps, I'd own small businesses. I'd have no retirement plan. I didn't travel the world. We've been all over the world. We make more money in a month than most people make in a year. And I'm not bragging. I'm saying I worked hard for that. I should have that. But, my parents didn't do that. So I was the pattern interrupt, right? And now my kids are now set, but they're also setting an example for their friends, and their friends are watching too. So it really is the ripple effect, that butterfly effect.
You're taking the words out of my mouth. I was going to say role modeling and ripple effect. Absolutely. Yeah,
It's
definitely. I used to have those interviews for 1 hour. That was a great thing, but it's too long for people to listen. But it's so short also. Melanie, before I forget, where can people find you? And do you have, I don't know, maybe currently a special offer or something that
You
is...
know, I really love impacting people. You can go to melaniegreeno.com. Actually my new site is being launched in 90 days, but there's a site there where you can kind of look around. It's a little bit outdated in the fact that I've got some new stuff coming out for programs and stuff, but I have a master plan system that I think if you really are wanting to reinvent yourself and you have no idea how to run a business or promote, if you're struggling with that stuff, the master plan system actually takes you through what are your life goals? What are your 3, 5, 10-year goals? What would that look like? How do you break it down? Where do you even start? How do you find the first step, right? And then it takes you through the actual steps of creating a vision for your life and moving forward. And it talks about business as well. If you're in direct sales, it's a phenomenal tool for growing teams. But even if you're not, no matter what your business, it's all built on community and teams anyways. And so that program actually is available at melaniegreeno.com. It's called the Master Plan. It's a 10 module, and it has been flying off the shelves for over 2 years now, actually, because it's such a good price point. It's really inexpensive. And then if they want to connect with me on Facebook, you can go to Melanie Greeno now on Facebook. And feel free to come by. I put stuff up there all the time, but really, I mean, it's just a matter of being out there and being connected, and you can subscribe on YouTube as well.
Super. Thank you so much. Melanie, can you maybe, if you remember what you were mentioning, you started referring to a book. If you remember which one you were talking about, maybe that's something that listeners...
Oh, the good book. Well, actually, there's 2 books that I really love that transformed my life. The number one is The Master Key System. It's absolutely phenomenal. And that book is really the basis of Think and Grow Rich and As a Man Thinketh and all these other books that came out of it. But The Master Key System, unbelievable. And the second book is the Bible. I mean, I really, truly believe it's the best success book ever written. It helps us transform from the inside out. Both of those books actually, and to put them together to train yourself mentally is unbelievable. It's just so about how to win and not like, a lot of books are very like, they're from a person's perspective. This is much bigger thinking. It's much, they really have transformed all of me. So it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Melanie, it really was a pleasure to have you. I hope we can continue the conversation a little bit after the recording. And so Melanie's interview will be released, it's always due on a Monday, but exceptionally it will not be on the 24th this time, but on the 25th. And it will be available on my website, agnesvanrijn.com. So that is www.agnesvanrijn.com, and you find it under the tab WWMTH, so the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. It will be there, downloadable podcast or video for 1 week, after which it will be moved to the archives to be replaced by the new interview, but you can access the archives by opting in. My next guest will be that will be released on the 31st of August, will be Debbie Cameron, who is originally from the UK but is now living for over 30 years already in Spain. And she will tell us how she has discovered her way to happiness and freedom. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you, hearing you all in the next interview. Thank you. Bye.